Hey guys, it's Jordan with the Young Turks and TYT Politics. I am coming to you from a dimly lit room in Bedford, New Hampshire. Apologize that the lighting's not great. Hope you can see me well enough. I am here doing a little work before I head over to Donald Trump's rally in Bedford, New Hampshire. I'm going to be joining Trump's campaign as part of the traveling press corps, where you go on Donald Trump's plane and travel around with him. I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess we'll find out. Haven't covered Trump in a while. Always fun to talk to his very intelligent and passionate supporters about the Trumpster. So I'll be following Trump, his rally today in New Hampshire. Then I'll be going to Michigan with his campaign tomorrow, and then I will be going to Pennsylvania with his campaign. From Pennsylvania, I will be starting what I like to call the disappearing middle class road trip. I haven't been this excited about a reporting trip in a while. Emma and I will be going through Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin. And so far we have a bunch of interviews lined up where we're going to be talking to you, to viewers, to regular people, regular working class people who are a big part of the middle class that Bernie Sanders talked about, the people who have been laid off and have their jobs offshored, the people who are working 2 to 3 jobs for less money, the people who are in $150,000 to $200,000 in student loans. My brother just said, Jordan Bernie ticket 2016. Could happen, Jared, could happen. Now, we're going to be doing this Midwest tour and kind of crowdsourcing through you. So if you haven't been paying attention, I've been posting on Facebook telling you what we're going for. So if you have an interesting story, if your family has an interesting story, if you know people who have an interesting story, I'm kind of looking for a mix of great human interest stories, but also highlighting specific areas and cities that have been decimated over the years because of the free trade deals that so help America, where plants have been shut down, people's jobs have been offshored to China and Mexico and wherever else. So, message TYT Politics, our Facebook page. If you have an interesting story, again, we're going to Pennsylvania, we're going to Ohio, we're going to Michigan, we're going to Illinois, and we're going to Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, we're ending in Wisconsin because we'll be covering the second presidential debate. Hopefully we don't get arrested, imprisoned, or pretty much any other things on this trip. It should be a fun one. So we start that on Sunday. Sarah Lopez, I would love to come to Hawaii. Maybe I'll see if Jen could send me there. So I wanted to talk to you about yesterday's event with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. It was in Durham, New Hampshire, at the University of New Hampshire. It was billed kind of as a college debt discussion. So Bernie talked, then Hillary spoke, and then they have a bit of a panel. Now, obviously, you know my take on Hillary Clinton. I don't need to, rehash that. But to report it accurately, before the rally, and then I got there, and there was a very, very long line to get in. And we did see a good number of young people on that line. Again, it was at University of New Hampshire, probably the biggest college in New Hampshire. I don't know how many people go there, but there was a very long line to get in. So you were thinking, okay, maybe this is a good thing. I would say when we interviewed people on the line, I would say, like I said in the video, I think my left toe had more enthusiasm for Hillary Clinton than any of these people I spoke to. I mostly spoke to young people because I think the reason Hillary's going around with Bernie is to try to get millennials and young people over to her side. Right now, she's polling quite awfully with millennials. I think the last poll I saw, she had a 31% rating among 18 to 34, which is millennials. So I interviewed some people. One girl said, I'm going to vote for her, but she's scripted and kind of robotic and these things. The other girl I spoke to essentially said, what are you going to do, Donald Trump? So you get a lot of that. But it's always interesting when I go to a Hillary Clinton rally versus a Bernie Sanders rally or even a Donald Trump rally. The enthusiasm it's like night and day. There's really not a lot of enthusiasm for her. So we get into the rally, and Hillary Clinton was about an hour late. So we're just kind of observing, talking to people. And I got to tell you, if I'm keeping it real, at a university, I would say there was only 15%, 15 to 20% of the people in attendance were actually young people and students. The rest were older people, baby boomers. I'm going to read a little bit from the Boston Herald about this event. The headline: Bernie Sanders holdouts no show Hillary Clinton's New Hampshire rally. Durham, New Hampshire, Hillary Clinton campaigning at a college here and hoping Bernie Sanders can help deliver critical millennial voters, instead drew a crowd largely of baby boomers while hearing faint praise from her former rival that paled in comparison to the language President Obama has used on the trail. So they said it, what I was just going to say. Honestly, it was, I don't understand what her campaign is doing, because if you're trying to give up the impression that she's going for millennials, well, you have an event essentially, I'd say 75 to 80% of it was older people and baby boomers. Again, this isn't me attacking older people, but politically speaking, she's struggling with young people and millennials. So what am I saying? Should they have, blocked old people at the door from coming in? Of course not. But you would think that her campaign would have a little bit more strategy, outreach to the school beforehand to try to get younger people to show up earlier, to try to reach out to the student groups, young activist groups around there. Because, if you're at a college and your whole thing is about student debt and the audience is, 80% baby boomers, not exactly jiving with what your message is. And, I think part of the reason you see less enthusiasm at these Hillary Clinton events is, frankly, when you have older people, baby boomers, these are people just sitting in their seats, kind of calmly and relaxed. They're not, burners and feel the burners who are getting crazy and, very, very passionate. They're what I would call the status quo vote. So, Emma and I were joking. I mean, I think if you're rating by decibel level, it was a 2 out of 10. It was very, 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 very unpassionate. And, this is where the person in me and the journalist in me collide. Because to be honest with you, I don't hide that I supported Bernie. And when I was at Bernie events covering them throughout the primary, you can't help but get exhilarated by it, whether you're a journalist or not. We were experiencing something that was kind of historic, not just by the number of people that were there, but by the body language and the way people cheered and the passion you saw in their eyes, and you saw people crying. It was almost like Woodstock. I wasn't alive, but there was a euphoria and a love and a real yearning for change that was palpable at these rallies. And, in fairness to Donald Trump, although it's a much different feel, there's a lot of energy at his rallies, mostly of the angry kind. But at all these rallies that I saw around the country, you really felt like you were in the middle of, a movement, in the middle of kind of like an awoken beast, a sleeping beast that's been awoken. Where it's Hillary Clinton rallies, you kind of feel more like you're just at kind of like an old country club Democratic meeting. I think that's the big difference. So Jason said the demonic kind. I'm not going to go that far. All right, so Hillary Clinton shows up an hour late. Bernie Sanders begins talking. Now, I don't want to get in Bernie Sanders' head. I haven't spoken with him. I asked for the 150th time yesterday for his people to give me an interview with him yesterday. They didn't give me a no right off the bat, so that was a good sign, but ultimately he couldn't do it. I know that there's some things behind the scenes to try to get him on the Young Turks again soon, so let's hope for that. But Bernie spoke first, and, I got to keep it real. He was not your typical Bernie. I thought his energy was lower than where I've seen him before. I thought he was talking a little bit more like a wonk, like policy wonkish, rather than, Hillary Clinton's great, and, we have our differences, but we really gotta get going with this. He really seemed more just kind of taking one for the team, was my impression. Like this article said, faint praise from her former rival. So I just didn't, from Bernie, it didn't come off like Bernie was at typical Bernie levels in the energy, the authenticity. It almost looked like he was not, kind of just there because he had to be. He did say nice things about her and talked about her college debt plan, which in their negotiations during the endorsement phase, he got her over to making free college, public college tuition free for families making $125,000 or less. That's obviously not Bernie's plan, which was making it free for everybody, but it's an improvement. Like I said in my debate with John on fusion, the problem with Hillary Clinton, yeah, it all sounds great, but does anyone think it's actually going to happen? Like, if I had Hillary Clinton in front of me, I'd ask her, your biggest donors are banks. Do you think they're going to be pleased with your free public college tuition and your plans to give a moratorium for students to have a few years before they start paying back their debt? I don't think so. If you don't know, banks are engaging now in what they did with the housing crisis, pooling all these homes together. Now they're pooling all these student loans together and making toxic shitbags of securities for investors to invest in. So bankers don't want student loan debt forgiveness or a moratorium where people have more time to pay their loans, or for it to be changed from paying an interest rate changed to paying based on your fixed income rate rather than just paying an interest rate. So I think a lot of the people who support Hillary Clinton might not be so in sync with her college debt plan, if you believe she's sincere about it. And also, I don't want to be cynical, but that's my job. Hillary Clinton, if she becomes president, first thing she's going to think about is reelection. So that includes taking money from Goldman and JP Morgan and Citibank and all these people. So if anyone, I think that's the problem with Hillary Clinton. It all sounds good. I wrote an article yesterday for CNBC.com. I posted it on Facebook and Twitter if you haven't read it yet. But it was essentially saying Hillary Clinton needs to go beyond just saying and putting on her website that she's going to do things and writing out policies. There's the fundamental problem that people don't trust her. Young people, older people, it doesn't matter. So she needs to go out and she needs to address her flip-flops. She needs to address that she has been part of this toxic system of government by the highest bidder. And she needs to explain to people that she gets why they don't trust her, and here's why they're wrong. I personally would not believe it, but as a political matter, that's what she has to do. So if you want to read that article, it's on my Facebook, it's on my Twitter. It was about, let me see what the headline was here. La-da-dee, la-da-da, what will be, what will be. Sorry, I finally slept well, so I'm in a good mood. The headline on the article. Clinton needs to drop her veil of platitudes and get real with voters. So essentially what I was saying is policies are great. Some of them sound good, but she needs to actually get people to trust her and actually believe that the policies she's actually proposing are going to actually happen. And as Patty Davis just said, I'm not holding my breath. So, Bernie spoke. Again, it just wasn't classic Bernie. He was, as Trump would say, a little low energy and wasn't really coming out like, gangbusters for Hillary. I also think something behind the scenes that was happening. There's people at all these rallies that are tasked with, rousing the crowd and getting them excited. So if you watch our video that I posted this morning on TYT Politics from this rally, we show, a girl and a guy trying to rev up the crowd, motioning them. I believe that she will win, and I'm with her, and all this business. And they couldn't really get people to cheer. So again, the energy at these rallies, you just feel like, yeah, the pundits say Hillary Clinton won, and a lot of the polls say she won the debate. But when I'm at these rallies, enthusiasm is low, very low. And that's dangerous because when I'm at Trump rallies, the enthusiasm is palpable. It's like a bunch of hyenas, trying to save their country or bring back their country from whatever, Mexicans stole it. But the enthusiasm gap is a problem. Then Hillary Clinton spoke. Same old song. I don't need to explain it. Very scripted, very robotic. She went into detail about her plan. If you're actually interested in her plan for college debt, it's hillaryclinton.com/calculator. She says you could go in there, type in, what you make, what your family makes, your situation, and it will tell you how her college debt plan will help you. So if you'd like to do that, just for your own research, go ahead, hillaryclinton.com slash calculator. She, gave a few lines crediting Bernie Sanders for, arousing millions of millennials. And I need to stop saying arousing, excuse me, exciting millions of millennials. And then went into her wonkish speech about college debt and all these things. She had a few one-liners about Donald Trump, but nothing crazy. At that point, I said to Emma, let's go outside because I want to get set up to get interviews with people. We interviewed a few people after the fact. And most of the young people I interviewed, they are not like hardcore Hillary Clinton fans. I haven't, honestly, I've rarely met one. I did meet some at the debates and her, early on in Iowa that were like legitimately with her. But right now, when I meet young people, it's pretty much, they are of the mindset, listen, I voted for Bernie. I love Bernie, but I can't stand Donald Trump. And, I personally think Donald Trump's a con man. I don't believe a lot of the things he says. I do think he's deplorable. But at the same time, I understand people who feel differently and think he's a racist and will bring on martial law and, will move us back, move us backwards in social issues, social progress, LGBT rights, make police brutality worse, make racism worse, all this stuff. So I get that. I'm not here to, be the judge and jury. I understand people who feel that way. But it's interesting. It's always interesting. I push back on some people, which you'll see the videos when they come out, who are saying he's racist and these things, because I want people to think about, all right, his rhetoric is racist, but what about her record? Because she wasn't president, but she was a cheerleader when Bill Clinton pushed through welfare reform, which took single mothers and poor people off the welfare rolls. She was a cheerleader when Bill Clinton pushed the crime bill, which was essentially what Trump is saying now, we need law and order. Clinton might have not said it that way, but at the end of the day, what did the crime bill did? Hired hundreds, maybe thousands of more police. Basically did the 3 strikes you're out rule, where people could go to jail for the rest of their life for nonviolent offenses. Put at this point, who knows? Probably hundreds of thousands of African Americans were jailed under this policy. Obviously, we know about super predators and all this business, and not so recently when a Black Lives Matter protester interrupted one of her private fundraisers. This was during the primary. She basically yelled at her and condescended to her. So is she outwardly racist? Does she talk racist? No. I mean, she talks like a politician. But I think people who actually think with nuance and look at everything, I don't know anything in Hillary Clinton's policy platform, if you believe it, but that's going to be great for black teenagers who have very high unemployment, or single mothers, or the older African American who is struggling with shitty health care, or very low paying jobs, or institutional racism. Something people don't know during the campaign, Hillary Clinton brought the mothers of the movement on behind her. So the mothers of Trayvon Martin, Jordan Davis, a lot of the high-profile African-American men who were shot and killed by police. So she had them at many, many rallies. Who didn't like that she did this? The Fraternal Order of Police, who went to her and her campaign and said, I don't like this. And Hillary Clinton stopped and then did an event with the Fraternal Police Union. So this is the politics. Jude Ignacio. Gotta hand it to Cenk. He hasn't fired you yet. Everybody's hating on Cenk. I did a video the other day. You can watch it. I think it said Jordan delivers a TYT/TYT politics public service announcement, where I addressed some of the negativity on my channel when the Young Turks post videos on my channel. So you could go watch that. I know it's been a bit of an elephant in the room that people are kind of upset at the direction of the Young Turks main channel. But I love Cenk. He's never told me not to do anything. He's never told me what to say, what not to say, go easy on Hillary, any of that business. So you guys, you can think what you want, but I still love the man. Going back to it, so Hillary Clinton is essentially, she's a politician, and she plays to every side of the issue. So that's basically why what I'm telling people, just think, yes, Trump's deplorable, but don't just viscerally respond to hate speech. Also look at someone's record, because this is the person who is president of the United States, and will their policies help you? That's all I say. At the rally, there was also Jill Stein protesters, a lot more of them before the rally. By after the rally, only a few. I interviewed one or two of them, so you'll see that. But overall, if I had to give, a brief analysis, it was your typical Hillary Clinton rally. Baby boomers, older people, maybe. I think the crowd from the fire marshal, it was between 1,000 and 1,200 people. My guess of young people, I'd say maybe 100 to 150 actual millennials were there. Um, that's a big problem for her. And I don't know what she could do, honestly. It's basically October. You have a month till the election. You got 30 years of a record that people don't trust. You have Jill Stein and Gary Johnson speaking to young people, and I just think at this point, I think it's a lost cause. I don't think she could win over young people because too much damage has been done. As I brought up yesterday in some interviews, young people, particularly Bernie Sanders supporters, they don't forget that they were treated like second-class citizens at the Democratic National Convention. And they were treated very, very poorly. Volunteers were not given credentials. Volunteers who flied in on their own dime were sent out and, not allowed in. You have WikiLeaks, which showed the corruption within the Democratic Party and essentially rigging the whole primary against Bernie Sanders. These are not things that, she could just gloss over and, I'm going to get you debt-free college. And, I have a good line once in a while about when I was young. People don't respond to that. Young people are a lot smarter. So that's my story. If you weren't here in the beginning, I'm going to a Trump rally in about an hour. Then I'm following Trump for 3 days, from New Hampshire to Michigan to Pennsylvania. And then I am embarking on the Disappearing Middle Class Tour. I'll be posting on Facebook loosely where I'll be on that tour, when I'll be there. It's going to be flexible based on a lot of things happening, but I'm very excited about that because I like putting a face to what's really going on, like what goes on with real people, not what you see on cable news with the rat race and Trump tweeted this or this, but like what is going on with real people who can't put food on the table, who have to choose between taking their medicine or going grocery shopping, who have to choose between sending their kid, buying their kid something, or again, getting enough food on the table. That's what I like to do. So I hope you'll watch. I hope you'll share. And I really appreciate you, as always, watching. Thanks so much, guys, and have a great day.